back to Navalier Market Buzz, episode 45. I'm Crystal Navalier, and I'm joined again this week with my father, Louis Navalier. We hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July weekend. Let's talk about the economic impact of the new tax bill. It's a hot topic right now. What are your thoughts?
Well, it just removes the uncertainty. What essentially happened is the 2017 tax cuts are now permanent, and they do change the brackets, and they did have all kinds of new deductions for seniors. There's something called a SALT deduction for state and local income taxes. The standard deduction's been raised. So it just creates certainty. And by and large, most people get more money in their paychecks. So when you put more money in people's pockets, they should go out and spend that. So it's it helps just to resolve everything once and for all.
So the U.S. tariff revenue is already surging and hit $24 billion in May. Is this how Trump intends to pay for the tax cuts?
Apparently, we probably should ask Howard Lutnick because he's the biggest fan of it. He's the Commerce Secretary. But yeah, tariff revenue is surging. And when the Congress had to reconcile the tax bill, they weren't allowed to use this tariff revenue. But it's surging, it's real, and hopefully it'll help to pay down the deficit, because the criticism of the tax bill is it was increase the deficit. So we will find out. The other thing I should add is there's something called the velocity of money, how fast money changes hands. And normally when you put more money in consumers' pockets, they will spend it. So, and that can generate more tax revenue as well. So it's compound complex. No one knows where to set taxes so the velocity of money is maximized. But I expect both the velocity of money to pick up and all this tariff revenue to really help put a dent in the deficit and also maybe reduce long-term treasury bond yields.
Now, Vietnam settled with the U.S. on tariffs. Is there a two-tier tariff system? What is that all about?
Yes, this is important because it kind of signals what might be happening to Mexico and some other countries. Vietnam now has a 20% baseline tariff. Britain only pays 10, so 20 is high. And then on anything China sends to Vietnam to be subassembled, it's 40%. So the real reason this tariff thing became so contentious is our tariffs with Vietnam and Mexico were huge and soared in recent years because China was diverting things to those countries to be subassembled. And that wasn't in the spirit of what was supposed to happen. So yeah, 20 and 40 is the new tariffs on Vietnam right now.
The stock market actually rallied all the way up until the 4th of July weekend, but does that mean we're now overbought?
Yes. So if you look at what they call these quartile charts that show you whether we're in the overbought or oversold, we'll be in the not only the top 25%, probably the top 10%. And but there was a lot of enthusiasm because all the uncertainty is disappearing. Also, we tend to rally going into holiday weekends. We have very good GDP growth forecast this quarter. Land Fed's 2.6% for the second quarter, so that got everybody excited. So there's just a lot to be excited about, and of course we're going to have another round of very good earnings and double-digit earnings on the S&P. That's cap-weighted. So we're probably going to consolidate a bit after the 4th of July holiday. But as we get into earnings season, everything will pick up again.
Now, the annual Russell realignment is over. Are small caps still leading the overall market?
Yes, you're showing a chart from Bespoke that shows what we call equal weight, where the small caps count the same as the big stocks, versus cap weight. And there's no doubt the equal weight has been beating the cap weight this year. And so small caps got their mojo back, mostly in June. And that may continue for a bit. The next Russell realignment will be in November. So they're realigning twice a year. So this is very good. And so you do have to have some small caps if you want full market participation.
I thought a rotation was underway in early July. Will that persist?
Yeah. we were talking about quantum computing stocks a few weeks ago. They were spectacular. They've started to rest a bit, and the new leadership definitely went to semiconductors. And that kind of was aided by Micron and Broadcom's earnings. But NVIDIA reasserted its leadership, is past Apple to become the largest cap company in America. And then a lot of people do business with NVIDIA, like a super microcomputer, also rallied strongly. So semis are the leadership right now, but the breadth and power of this market is broadened out. And you're showing a chart of that as well. So that's a very good sign.
So I think we've had a little bit of confusion on what your fundamental A stocks are. Can you share with everyone what your process is?
Sure. Those are our best performing stocks. We did a short tease citing their performance, and they definitely led the way. And in our stock grader, we have an 8-factor fundamental model, which is sales growth, margin expansion, earnings stability, earnings momentum, cash flow, return on equity, analyst earnings revisions, and earnings surprises. So the stocks that score in the top 20% of all 8 of those criteria are what is called a fundamental A stock. And you're showing a chart of how our fundamental grades decay, okay? And not the A-rated stocks, which are top 20% exceptional. If you can get the top 5%, it's even better. So this is what we do in the Accelerated Profits newsletter. We basically data mine the fundamental A stocks, and they are extraordinary. And that's what's allowed me to find things like Sezzle and some other spectacular stocks.
Do you mind sharing with everyone what some of your favorite fundamental A stocks are?
Sure. PAHC is a company that basically sells the treatments to help all the farm animals, okay, so they stay healthy. And again, that just showed up on my fundamental A radar. Kincross is a gold company, okay, and probably my best gold company. I have 4 others. It's looking good. Of course, we know about Sezzle. We've talked about that quite a bit. That's a company that helps consumers make payments. So when you go check out, you can pick to pay over 4 installments and things like that. They will loan you money at pretty high rates, but this is becoming increasingly common. And so they're booming. Another one is Power Solutions. It's PSIX. They provide all kinds of infrastructure to the oil infrastructure industry. There's a natural gas boom underway. We also help with all the power plants that we have and data centers. Another one is Excelis. That is a company that does helps find new cures for cancer and things. They're testing drugs and getting them approved. We have him and hers that showed up. Now that's a little controversial because they signed up to make Wegovy for Novo Nordisk, but then they kept doing their generic business, and so their time with Novo Nordisk was very short, and Novo Nordisk terminated a relationship. Essentially, they can undercut them in price. There's all kinds of ways to reformulate GLP-1 drugs, and to keep what they call the compound pharmacies like him and hers going. So, but him and hers is a fundamental A stock as well. Some more fundamental A stocks would be Carvana. That's CVNA. Obviously, the price of new cars are up. It was interesting. They haven't been shipping a lot of cars to America until they figure out all the tariffs. But now that the tariffs are only 10% on the first 100,000 British vehicles, the shipments are coming. So for Range Rovers and things like that. So that's good news. But in the meantime, used car prices are very high. A lot of it's electronics and things we have to put in the cars. All the safety systems have really pushed up the price of cars. Another one is CCRD. That is a company that helps with credit. Another company like Sezzle. They provide credit cards to businesses that they can, have a business brand credit card. And then finally, we have Epsilon Energy, helping build out our infrastructure for natural gas and LNG, and they're doing exceptionally well. So again, we only find these stocks because they were just hitting on all cylinders. And we test all our models, and this has always been the most powerful model we have. And we wish we had more fundamental stocks, but this is what we have right now.
So now let's switch over to economic news. What do you expect for the consumer price index on Tuesday?
I expect it to be very good. Gas prices are still down. Food prices seem to be starting to rise just a tad. So we'll see, but we want a good CPI because we want the Fed to cut rates. CPI has come in below expectations the last 4 months.
And what do you expect for the PPI on Wednesday?
Same thing. It was negative 2 out of the last 3 months. We're importing deflation from China. Wholesale energy prices did temporarily go up when we were having the incident helping Israel with bomb Iran, but hopefully things are settling back down now. And we want to look at wholesale service costs as well as goods costs. Again, we've had a glut of goods in America, so that's helped keep the prices down. So I'm expecting very good inflation readings, and hopefully that'll help the Fed, convince the Fed to cut rates.
And lastly, what do you expect for retail sales on Thursday?
They should be okay. Consumers are definitely doing better. A lot of this is weather related, and we obviously have good weather for much of the United States. I know it's a little hot, but consumers are out and about, and they should be spending.
So you mentioned that these reports might help to influence the Fed to cut. Can you expand on that?
Sure. Well, I guess the easiest way to say it is the Fed stopped looking at the inflation data, and we're anticipating an inflation bogeyman from the tariffs. And it didn't show up. In fact, there was a European Central Bank forum in Portugal, and Chairman Powell said that we would have already cut rates now had it not been for the tariffs. So he finally admitted he stopped following the economic data. But then he said at the forum he's going to follow the data. Now he's a lame duck now. He's kind of wounded. There's at least 3 FOMC officials that have come out and called for a cut in maybe as early as July. But the Fed is going to be more eager to cut with the data. So we had a payroll report that shows strong job growth, even though ADP, which does payroll, had negative growth. So the data gets confusing. But most of the growth was in state and local jobs, not federal jobs, and most of them were school teachers, and so they're about to be laid off because it's summertime and they don't work for 3 months. So I think we have to be careful with the payroll report and some of the other reports. But the other thing that happened at the ECB conference is the governor of the Bank of England, he said they're going to have to cut 3 more times. So there is a global collapse in interest rates around the world. And the reason this is happening is the world got old. No offense, but you can't grow an economy when you lose households. And as people get older, they spend less, No offense, you're better for the economy than I am, okay? And because, you're still nesting and, buying things, and I already got all that stuff.
So now let's switch over to subscriber questions. One of our subscribers wanted to know, now that the Russell realignment is over, are some of these small cap stocks going to slow down?
Yeah, the strength behind them was being added to indices, and that's largely over. There's a lot of what we call tracking managers, index managers out there that were literally forced to buy the stocks. So the good news is they have better liquidity. The bad news is most of that buying pressure is over now. So if going forward, they've really got to do it on fundamentals and positive analyst earnings revisions and things like that. So yeah, it's the strength you saw in small cap was mechanical, but the reason I mentioned it is everybody should know that's where the performance was, especially in June.
Well, thank you so much for answering all my questions, and thank you to you all again for watching and supporting us. If you haven't already, make sure to give this video a like and hit subscribe. If you have any questions that you want us to address in the next video, please leave them in the comments below. But until then, we will see you next Sunday for a new video with a special guest. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.